morning, everybody. Happy day. Everybody set? Okay. A week ago today, I vetoed House Bill 68. A week has gone on by, and I still feel just as firmly about that as I did that day. I believe that parents, not the government, should be making these very crucial medical decisions for the children. At that time, I also said that there are things we need to do to further protect children and adults. And some of these things that I announced that we needed to do go well beyond what is in House Bill 68. So 1 week later, I'm here to report on the progress that we've made on those items and talk about the things that we're doing to assure the quality and consistency of care for all patients, whether they are children or adults. First, I'm announcing that the Ohio Department of Health and the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services today will be filing rules for public comment that, once effective, will provide protections for children and adults receiving care in this area from hospitals and clinics. Candidly, as I expressed a week ago, I am concerned that there could be fly-by-night providers, clinics that might be dispensing medication to adults with no counseling and no basic standards to assure quality care. With the rules that we are announcing today, that will take care of that. We need to ensure that adults as well as children are protected. These draft rules will be discussed at length with legislators and interested parties and will include the following. 1, the requirement of a multidisciplinary team to support an individual through care, including but not limited to an endocrinologist, a bioethicist, and a psychiatrist. Second, the requirement of a comprehensive care plan that includes sufficient informed consent from patients and parents, if we're dealing with a child, of the risk associated with treatment. And the requirement of comprehensive and lengthy mental health counseling prior to being considered for any other treatment. And let me just add that as I spent time looking at this and listening to people, it's clear that the most important part is the mental health counseling. It needs to be lengthy and it needs to be comprehensive. And I want to emphasize that. The second thing I'm announcing today is that the Ohio Department of Health will be filing rules today for public comment that, once effective, will require healthcare providers across the state of Ohio to report what's referred to as de-identified data that will be shared at an aggregate level on cases of gender dysphoria and subsequent treatments. In plain English, that means that no one will be able to look at the data and tell who it is. We do this all the time to protect privacy. The reporting of aggregate data occurs frequently in Ohio, from flu cases to causes of food poisoning to data on abortions. This data is used by policymakers, legislators, and the public so they can make informed decisions. Adding this rule will ensure that that is the case as well for the subject that we are discussing today. Third, I signed an executive order just a few moments ago enacting emergency rules that ban gender transition surgeries for minors at any hospital or ambulatory surgical facility in Ohio. This ban is effective immediately. Ohio law allows for emergency rules so that provisions important to public safety and other important public policy goals specified in statute can be put in place while the full rulemaking process proceeds. This will ensure that surgeries of this type on minors can never happen in Ohio. I know that's been one of the concerns that has been expressed. I've never disagreed with that. if we look at what evidence there is very little that is occurring, but let's make sure. And so that's what this does. I'm happy to answer any questions, and if they're too tough, Dr. Vanderhoff is in the front row here.
Governor, in the case of, say, somebody who might have cancer or somebody who has something that's not gender dysphoria, but they need, something removed, do these rules apply to that?
No, no one has any problem with that at all. There's no intention to get involved with any minor, and these only apply to a minor. But there's no intention, if a minor needs any kind of surgery, that's certainly fine. We don't block that at all. Look, this is something that in the entire time when I talked to families, not once did they mention, gee, we want to have surgery on our minor child. That is just never mentioned. And so this is, just to make sure that this does not happen for minors in the state of Ohio. That's all. Kind of assures everybody that cannot happen.
Governor, do you hope that this executive order will sway some minds in the Ohio House from overriding your veto last week? And have you talked with any Republicans?
Well, I don't know what it will do, but I think I'm doing it because it's important that we do it. When I really started looking at this, these are some holes that were clear to me needed to be filled. One, we need to have data. We need to have information. We have it on virtually everything else in the medical field. We don't have data on this. We don't have data about the frequency and circumstances. So, it's time that we got that information. So, whatever the legislature does, we're going through with this. This is something that's important. Second, there is a legitimate concern that I have that for adults, we might have this kind of care, which, by the way, the state legislature's bill does not touch adults at all. But I'm concerned that adults, there might be these fly-by-night operations that set themselves up and start dispensing hormones, but without the lead-in psychiatric care that we know is so very, very important. So with these orders, what is going to happen is that is not going to be able to happen in the state of Ohio. That anybody, an adult who goes in for this care, will get this lead-up psychiatric care and the counseling. That is absolutely a key, whether you're dealing with an adult or whether you're dealing with a child. The bill that I vetoed, that the legislature put forward, did not deal with that at all. And I don't think, as I've talked to members of the General Assembly, I can't speak for all the members, but the members who've been directly involved in this bill, I think, are not only fine with this, that they think this is a good idea, but they'll have to speak for themselves on it.
Governor, one of the things that the other side has said is that these are executive orders, and that executive orders are good while you're here, but then when you disappear and maybe a Democrat comes into office, they could get rid of the executive orders. So they don't have the staying power of a law.
Look, if the legislature wants to take what I've just done here by executive order and wants to put that in permanent law, that's fine with me. But look, I'm the executive side, so what I can do is to put these in executive order. If the legislature wants to pass a law, I'm happy to sign the law. But I wanted to report today these three things. We said we were going to start working on those. We have, and I wanted to give a report about where we are. Who else?
Governor, have you been actively negotiating with the leaders of the legislature to try to stave off a veto override?
Look, I think that I'm not going to get into discussions I have with legislators. I think they know my position. They're coming back. The House is obviously coming back. It said it's coming back to vote on this next week, and that's fine. They have a constitutional right to do that. They will do what they think is best. I've stated my position, I think, very, very clearly, that this is a question of The parents should be involved, not the state of Ohio, not the government. These are very difficult, very tough decisions that parents are involved in. They're the ones who live with the child. They're the ones who raise the child. They're the ones who love the child. They're the ones who should make the medical decisions in consultation with the best doctors that they can find. And that's the message that parents who I have talked to have given me. So that's why I vetoed the bill. I would just say that since the House is coming back next week, this might be a good time to take up and deal again something that they did not do, which is to deal with the marijuana issue. I mean, we still have a situation in Ohio every single day where people can use marijuana, they can possess marijuana, they can even plant marijuana, grow it, but they can't buy the seeds and they can't legally buy marijuana. So, you know, again, we're going to just continue to see the black market will develop. Every day that goes on, it's more likely that we get a robust black market. And at the very least, if they can't do that, you know, I would hope they could deal with something that is very real and across the state of Ohio, and that is intoxicating hemp. I can take you, if you drive from here to the governor's residence, we can take you to a place right there where kids, 12, 13, 14, any age, can walk in and buy it. It is intoxicating. It is something that needs to be banned, and again, the legislature could ban it. These hemp products can be sold anywhere in the state of Ohio, and we have no jurisdiction, we have no laws to prohibit that. We can do absolutely nothing. Local law enforcement can do nothing. The state can do nothing to stop it. It continues on. It changes. You know, how does it affect kids? It affects or adults. It's intoxicating. It's hallucinogenic. It impacts cognition, mood, emotions. It alters how people think. So, yeah, again, this is there, and it really needs to be dealt with. I just talked a moment ago to Senator Steve Huffman. I know that the House has said they don't want to take up marijuana and in the same bill that they do intoxicating hemp. So what Senator Huffman has started to do, and I just want to congratulate him and thank him for doing that, he is now drafting a separate bill. So this is something that, you know, really needs to be dealt with.
Governor, has there been?
I mean, it just finished. You know, if we want to talk about protecting kids, dealing with intoxicating hemp is something we need to deal with. If we're concerned about protecting kids, we need to deal with that. And I again ask the House when they come back and the members to deal with that.
Governor, to your knowledge, or maybe this would be a question for Dr. Vanderhoff, but have there been complaints filed with the medical board or any other entity about fly-by-night operations providing some sort of care? Have there been any complaints about actual surgical or any other medical treatment in which someone was harmed? Yeah, I'm not.
Dr. Vanderhoff can jump in here if he knows more than I know on this issue. He knows a lot more than I know on a lot of issues, but I'm not aware of that. What we were starting to see, candidly, is some advertisements about going to clinics where you could get the medication, and the concern, I think, of anybody who really understands this, and it's been expressed to me, is you need a lead up of good psychiatric care. You need the mental health counseling. You need a significant period of time to elapse. And so the idea that you could walk into some place and just say, I want this, and then they dispense it or they write a script for it, it scares people who understand this. And, you know, the lead up is so very, very important. So if you look at what we are proposing here, it is that this type of medicine, or this type of practice has to have two things, really. One is a lead-up, a significant period of time with someone who is a professional counselor in the area of mental health. But two, you also have to have the other professionals, the other medical professionals that I listed, who also can advise that patient. Those are good practices for children, they're good practices for adults, and by what we have proposed, we will make sure that any patient will have the benefit of that kind of care, which is the proper care.
How do you feel about the backlash you've been facing from your own party?
How do I feel about it? Look, I made the decision. It was the right decision as far as I'm concerned. Everyone can make their own decision. Everyone can, look at the facts and make their own decision about what they feel. So, look, I knew how the legislature had voted before. I had, comments from people before, so I fully expected it, in answer to your question.
Governor DeWine, you have made policy, collecting data, getting best practices, that sort of thing, a key part of the way you want to handle this. Is there a reason that that's important, more so than what was in the bill, and how does that work in an evolving kind of science?
Well, I think that there is a consensus, a strong consensus about what is needed for anyone, whether it's an adult or a child, who comes in and raises the issue and says, this is where I am. And, every person who I consulted said the first thing that has to happen is a very lengthy and comprehensive professional counseling in the area of behavioral health, mental health. So that's should be the right protocol. There's nothing that we have today that assures that will happen, particularly with adults. There's nothing, and as we're seeing some advertisements out there, the indication is there may be people, frankly, who want to make money off this and who want to get involved in this, but who don't have the depth of knowledge or don't have the bench strength, the strength of people that are really needed. I just think it's to me, after looking at all this and listening to experts, it would be very scary for someone to go in and not have that quality of care. Their choice to go in, their ultimate decision as an adult, but they ought to at least be assured that they have that team put together, and to approach this unique medical challenge without a team behind you would be, a grave mistake.
So I guess what I'm asking is, the proponents would say, over in Europe, they've decided to walk this back or do this differently because of things they're learning.
Well,
and so is your approach to deal with that transition of science and deal with changes?
Well, I don't want to, I can't speak for people, who voted for the bill or people who wrote the bill. What I can say is that there's nothing in the bill that deals with this issue, particularly for adults. The bill does not deal with adults at all. That's just a fact. I'm not criticizing it for that. I'm just saying that's a fact. So after I looked at this and talked to so many experts and talked to families, what came across time after time after time was it needs to be this front end. You need to have significant time spent. You need to have experts. You have to have mental health counseling. That has to start this process. And if it doesn't, it's a problem. So I can do this, and there'll be go through a process, and there'll be, people can comment, and the legislature will be able to comment, and everybody can have their say, but ultimately, if this goes into effect, it will, I think, assure adults that they have that protection. The bill just didn't deal with it. I'm not criticizing it for that. It just didn't deal. It's a fact. It didn't deal with it, and so I've taken this, and we're trying to deal with this.
Governor, last week you said that the demand for these types of surgeries aren't very high in hospitals, so why focus on banning these surgeries in your executive order?
I think it's a good way to take this issue off the table and assure everyone that there are not surgeries going on with minors. Look, you can't prove a negative. I can't say that there's never been a surgery. I don't know that on a minor. I can't say that. I have no way of knowing that. I just know the issue never came up in discussions other than people telling me there are no surgeries going on in regard to minors. But again, if there are, we should ban them. And by banning them, everyone can be assured that when we're dealing with minors, surgery will not take place. It just seems to me it's a comfort level that we can have. And there's a broad consensus against surgeries for minors. So let's put that into a law so we can move on and talk about other things.
Have you considered an executive order that basically says the lawmakers can't limit or restrict gender-affirming care?
No, I don't think I could do that. I think, no, I wouldn't consider that. Look, I respect the legislative process. I have a job. They have a job. They do their job. I do my job. My job was to study this issue and decide whether to sign it. And as I said a week ago, for me to sign the bill, for this to become law in the state of Ohio, Ohio would be saying that the government knows best, knows better than parents about their own child's health and health care and those very, very important decisions. And that's not where I am.
How concerned are you that there will be an override of the veto?
Well, look, I'm not going to get my crystal ball out here. I'll let you guys do that. So.
You know, one of the other complaints that we've heard over the week is that your plan does nothing to keep the sports issue. That your plan does nothing to keep trans students from participating in those.
Let me state again. I did not address that. It deals that the state legislature decided to put two separate bills together, two separate concepts. I looked at that and quickly made the decision that I would focus on this one because this one affects many more people. It doesn't mean that the other one is not the issue. That issue is not important. It just, to me, this is where I needed to focus, and so my veto did not reflect one way or the other my position on that other issue. I just didn't get into it, and I'm not going to get into it today. We need to stay focused on what I think is the important one.
You said last week that the administrative rules would have a better chance with judicial review. Can you speak to how that was considered in drafting them?
Well, I leave that to the practicing lawyers. I'm a lawyer, but not a practicing lawyer, and we leave that to the lawyers to try to, draft that in a way that would be upheld. And so that's, I can't really go much beyond that.
But that was considered, right?
I'm sorry?
That was considered in drafting.
Our lawyers always consider how best to draft something so that it could not be thrown out by a court. That doesn't mean a court couldn't do that with anything that is written, but they always are thinking about how this will be interpreted or how a court will look at it. That's their job. That's what they, one of the ways they make their money. So they get paid to do that. So, all right.
If this veto is overrode and it's likely to go to court, would you publicly ask that it be held off until the litigation is done?
What I asked, I'm sorry, what,
The implementation of. the-
no, look, that's, if there's action filed in court, I won't file it. If there's action filed in court, then it's up to the court. That's the third branch of government. I'm not the third, I'm not the legislative, I'm the executive. No.
If there is an override, the law would take effect 90 days later. Are you confident that you can have these rules adopted and implemented within 90 days?
Well, the override, if there's an override, I'm going to take it as your hypothetical question. It really does not impact what we're doing. I mean, we're doing this because we think it's the right thing to do. We're doing it because we think there's a hole there. We're doing it, the legislature didn't address it. We're addressing it. So, okay. Dan has looked at his watch now for the fourth time, so I think that's my signal, but yeah. Anybody else?
My apologies to my colleagues, I'm gonna go really off topic for a second.
Shocking.
Ohio State Highway Patrol reports that distracted driving violations spiked really heavily in the quarter of the year in 2023 with the calendar year closed. Do you kind of have thoughts on the implementation and the enforcement of the distracted driving law?
Well, the way it was set up by the bill that was passed, as you know, it's really kind of phased in, and we went through a period of time where people got warnings, and then we got through a period of time when they would issue citations. So I don't think this should surprise anybody. We're into a process. I mean, what we're really trying to do is change a culture. And again, our goal has never been to, see a lot of citations issued, but we knew once the law went into effect, they would be citations issued. It is the issuing of some citations which you hope serves as a deterrent for everyone. It's kind of the way the law works. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.